Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. The date is set. The first face-to-face high-voltage matchup between the U.S. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump and the Democratic opponent Kamala Harris will happen on 10th of September on ABC. U.S., Egypt and Qatar push for efforts to jumpstart talks between Israel and Hamas. They urge the two parties to resume talks on August 15. Israel agrees to send negotiators. Hamas is yet to respond. Venezuela's Maduro's crackdown on social media platforms continues 2 days after asking citizens to delete WhatsApp's signs decree blocking X for 10 days. And India's Neeraj Chopra clinches the first silver for India in the men's javelin throw event at the Paris Olympics. The elusive wait for the gold at Paris continues. The U.S. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump and the Democratic opponent Kamala Harris will debate on September 10 on ABC, setting up the first face-to-face matchup between the rivals in what polls show is an extremely close race. In a news conference at his Florida residence, Trump said that he wanted additional debates on September 4 and September 25 that would air on Fox and NBC. The news conference was Trump's first public appearance since Harris selected Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate on Tuesday.
I think it's very important to have debates, and we've agreed with Fox on a date of September 4th. We've agreed with NBC, fairly full agreement subject to them, on September 10th. And we've agreed with ABC on September 25th. So we have those three dates, and those networks, they're very anxiously awaiting that date and those dates. So we have September 4th, September 10th, and September 25th.
Well, the Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris has confirmed that she will attend the ABC debate, and she says it's on September 10. Now, talking to reporters, Harris said that she looks forward to debating Trump.
Well, I'm glad that he's finally agreed to a debate on September 10th. I'm looking forward to it, and hope he shows up.
Are you open to more debate?
I am happy to have that conversation about an additional debate for after September 10th, for sure.
The U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris is in the battleground state of Arizona today, and she continues to launch her campaign for the White House with a whirlwind tour of the country, having addressed tens of thousands of people at rallies in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan this week. The presidential candidate headed west overnight alongside her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. In a bid to steal back the limelight, the former President Donald Trump held a news conference at his Florida estate, slamming his rival for the Oval Office in a lengthy freewheeling speech littered with false statements, which the Harris camp called, and I quote, public meltdown. Benji Hyatt reports.
A tale of two campaigns, really. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have been bringing what they see as a message of hope and optimism to the United States, pulling in huge crowds nationwide. They met with union workers on Thursday before jetting off to campaign events in Arizona and California. Contrast that with Donald Trump, who took a leaf out of the book of fear and division, calling the US a sick country and peddling the prospect of World War III.
I think that our country is right now in the most dangerous position it's ever been in from an economic standpoint, from a safety standpoint. We have a lot of bad things coming up. You could end up in a depression of the 1929 variety, which would be a devastating thing. Took many years, took decades to recover from it. And we're very close to that, and we're very close to a world war. In my opinion, we're very close to a world war. We have people that don't know how to handle it.
were Harris to win November's election. It was a stark split-screen moment, but one that Trump intended in his first public appearance since the Democratic Party ticket was confirmed. The Republican nominee keen to show himself facing the media, unlike Vice President Harris, who hasn't done a sat-down interview in front of the press in weeks. A set of debates proposed for next month will, Trump says, set the record straight. His comments on Thursday were otherwise rambling and at times misleading, claiming he had more people attend the attempted insurrection on January 6, 2021, when a mob stormed the US Capitol in a deadly riot to overturn the election outcome. More people there, he says, than Martin Luther King had at his famous I Have a Dream speech. He also appeared to conflate, perhaps intentionally, refugees and asylum seekers with those from insane asylums. He hit out at Jewish Democrat voters and at Harris's biracial identity. Her campaign clipped up those remarks for social media. Harris and her vice presidential pick, Tim Walz, described by Trump as incompetent radical leftists, are hoping to build on her honeymoon period momentum ahead of her party's national convention later this month, but they have no such news conference planned. Benji Haya in Washington, reporting for DD India.
A US presidential debate is like the first scrutiny of the candidates by the people. Now, this event is watched by people from most of the countries and also does influence the American voters as the candidates present their views on issues of national and international importance. Let's take a look at this report by our colleague Akhilesh Suman on how this tradition evolved and how it shapes the mood of the American electorate.
US President Joe Biden's decision to step down from the presidential race, even if reluctantly, is a reminder of the power of presidential debates in the US elections. In a televised debate on 27th of June this year, Biden fared miserably in front of Donald Trump. The calls for him to step aside gained momentum with each passing day thereafter, and he had to drop out, endorsing his Vice President Kamala Harris to take the fight to the Trump camp. Now both Harris and Trump are rearing to go at each other on debates before the elections on November 5th. The first presidential debate in the US took place on September 26, 1960, between Democratic nominee John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon, the Republican nominee. It was broadcast on CBS TV. Richard Nixon did not fare well, giving a head start to Kennedy, who eventually won the election. No presidential debate took place after this debacle. Nixon won the elections in 1969 without going into any debate. However, the next presidential candidates' debates occurred during the 1976 campaign between President Gerald Ford and his Democratic challenger Jimmy Carter. Carter won the polls. Next presidential elections took place in 1980, but scheduled debate was cancelled. It was resumed again in 1984 between Republican Ronald Reagan and Democrat Walter Mondale. Reagan won the polls. Before the tradition of formal presidential debates in the US, people started inviting Senate candidates for debates in public since 1858. Former US President Abraham Lincoln was part of this debate with his contestant, Senator Stephen A. Douglas. It was a culture of series of debates in American political scenario to assess the strength of candidates aspiring for various posts. The US presidential debates were earlier sponsored by TV channels. Later, sponsorships started coming from the NGOs. This year again, it is sponsored by the CNN and ABC News. The debates provide the candidates an opportunity to articulate their agenda as well as confront their rivals. Health of candidates and arguments with logic matter the most. Millions will tune into the debate on September 10th as Trump and Harris will slug it out on various issues that have generated public interest and curiosity among the US voters. Akhilesh Suman's report for DD India.
Updates now on the Gaza crisis, and in the latest attempt to end the Gaza conflict, the United States, Egypt and Qatar have called on Israel and Hamas to resume negotiations over a ceasefire and hostage release deal. Leaders of the three nations in a joint statement on Thursday called on Israel and Hamas to resume urgent discussion on August 15 to close all remaining gaps and implement a deal without delay. The three countries, which have been trying to mediate a deal, said that the talks could take place in either Doha or Cairo. The leaders also offered to present a final bridging proposal resolving the remaining issues. Now, Israel has agreed to send negotiators to the proposed talks, which are penciled in for the 15th of August in Doha or Cairo. However, Hamas did not immediately respond. The renewed diplomatic push will be seen as an attempt to stop regional conflict from spiraling out of control after Hamas's leader Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated last week. Iran blames Israel and has vowed to respond, though Israel has not commented directly on the killing. The United States has reportedly warned Iran any attack on Israel would pose a serious risk for Iran's economy and government. A senior U.S. administration official said on Thursday that Iran would face significant consequences if it decides to attack Israel, an escalation that would also threaten any hopes of a ceasefire in the Gaza conflict. The official said Tehran had been put on notice and there is a serious consequence or risk of consequences for Iran's economy and the stability of its newly elected government if it goes down that path. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro on Thursday said that he has signed a resolution to block access to social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, in the country for 10 days. Maduro has frequently railed against X owner Elon Musk since the country's July 28 presidential election. In the days after the vote, protests from Venezuelans across the country and abroad also broke out, demanding Maduro to step down and to honor a win by the opposition candidate, Edmundo Gonzalez. The protests were largely promoted on social media. The leftist president earlier this week had asked his supporters to also abandon messaging application WhatsApp, saying that that app was being used to threaten the families of soldiers and police officers. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida cancelled plans to visit Central Asia on Friday after weather officials flagged that the risk of a major Pacific Coast earthquake was higher than usual. Kishida, in a press conference, said that he will stay in Japan for the next week to ensure preparations and communications are in order in the wake of the earthquake. The Japan Meteorological Agency on Thursday issued its first ever warning of the risk of a huge earthquake on the country's Pacific coast, following one of magnitude 7.1 that struck the southwestern island of Kyushu the same day. Due to bad weather in mid-June, a small patch of debris fell from the ruins of a historic monument, St. Paul's in China. Now, this led to the temporary closure of the visitor access to this monument. The officials said that this was the first time that the iconic cultural heritage was hit by lightning. Experts stress the urgency of installing such a system to protect cultural relics and their surroundings. Still to come here on DD India Live, the ISIS terrorist with 300,000 rupees bounty is arrested by the Delhi Police Special Cell ahead of Independence Day celebrations. India celebrates the third edition of the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign to mark the 70th Independence Day. And the Indian wrestler Aman Serhawat will be fighting for a bronze medal in the freestyle 57 kg event in Paris.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Mark Lynn. The The External Affairs Minister, now let's talk about this item once again. Speaking about Indian nationals in Russian army, the Russian army in the lower house of parliament, India's External Affairs Minister reiterated that under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, India is committed to bringing back stranded 69 nationals in Russia.
There are, as I said, sir, 8 Indian nationals who unfortunately died while in service with the Russian armed forces. 4 of them, their mortal remains have been sent to India with the payment made by the Indian Community Welfare Fund. In one case from Haryana, the Russian Foreign Ministry has informed us about his death. They have sought a DNA test report to identify him. This has been sent to the Russian side. We are following up. In one case relating to a person from Gujarat, the family wants cremation in Russia. The necessary authorization from the family has been obtained. It has been sent to the Russian side. In a case from Punjab, the Russian side has requested for DNA sample. That DNA sample is being provided. And finally, in the case of from Uttar Pradesh, sir, the 8th case, the family has sent their wishes that the mortal remains should be brought back. We expect that it will be brought back.
And India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, began a 3-day visit to the Maldives. He's done so from today. And this visit follows the recent visit of the President of the Republic of Maldives, Dr. Mohamed Muizi, to India for the swearing-in ceremony of Prime Minister Modi and the Council of Ministers. The EAM had previously visited the Maldives in January of 2023. Maldives is India's maritime neighbor, a key partner as well, important partner in India's neighborhood first policy, as well as India's vision of Sagar, which is security and growth for all in the region. The visit is aimed at strengthening the close partnership between the two countries and also explores avenues to enhance bilateral relationship further. Let's move on to our next story. The President of India, Draupadi Murmu, is undertaking a visit to, it's a state visit to Timor-Leste. That's happening on the 10th of August. This historic visit marks the first time an Indian head of state will be visiting Timor-Leste. Now, according to officials, the President will engage in bilateral meetings with President Jose Ramos Horta and Prime Minister K. Rala Zanana Gusmao. And she is also scheduled to meet with the Indian diaspora in the capital of Timor-Leste. The Indian ambassador to Indonesia and Timor-Leste spoke exclusively to Abhishek Singh, DD India correspondent.
Indian ambassador in Indonesia and Timor-Leste, Mr. Sandeep Chakravarti, is with us. First time any President of India is visiting Timor-Leste. Sir, what impact will it have on the relationship between these two countries?
You see, I think what I would like to say is that the visit of the President of India, Honorable Rashtrapati ji, itself is a major outcome of this visit. We are having a visit by the President of India or anybody of the above the rank of a cabinet minister for the first time to Timor-Leste, and we are going to open an embassy here. President Horta of Timor-Leste was in India in January this year for the Vibrant Gujarat Summit. So I think from a very, very high level, the signals are being sent that it is time to really strengthen and deepen the ties with Timor-Leste, and we have not had this kind of a visit ever before.
How much strategic importance does Timor-Leste holds for India?
Timor-Leste is located in the Indo-Pacific. India is an Indo-Pacific, has an Indo-Pacific strategy. Many countries in the world have Indo-Pacific strategy. It is located very close to Australia. It is located very close to Southeast Asia, to Japan, to China. And, the sea lanes of communication pass through very close to Timor-Leste. And this country is a developing country. It has a lot of potential. We have to work in building up our capacities here.
So what are the areas India can invest here?
There has been expression of interest by Indian hospitals to invest in Timor East. There are possibilities of medical tourism. There is a great possibility of medical education here. There are medical colleges here. So some Indian entrepreneurs are working to develop the curriculum here. And we may see very soon Indian students coming to study in Timor East, because there is great demand for medical education in India, and Timor East offers a possibility. There are options in tourism, in digital space, in food security, in agricultural production.
Sir, Timor-Leste is being soon the member of ASEAN. So how effective is the Prime Minister's Act East policy?
I think it's, as we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of Act East policy, opening the embassy in Timor East gives a very, very strong message that India the Act East policy is alive and kicking, and it is delivering for the ASEAN member states. Also, having said that, I would say that the visit by Rashtrapati to Timor-Leste is also getting a big message and a signal that India is very seriously looking at its ASEAN partners.
With camera person Saurav Sukla, Abhishek Singh, DD News, Timor-Leste.
Now, ahead of the Independence Day celebrations in the national capital, the Delhi Police Special Cell has arrested Rizwan Ali, who is an ISIS terrorist. And he's a resident of Daryaganj in Delhi. Rizwan had a bounty of 300,000 rupees on his head, and this was announced by the National Investigation Agency for his involvement in terror activities. Now, according to the police, Ali was part of the Pune module of ISIS and had been absconding. NIA had earlier released Rizwan Ali's photograph along with other absconding wanted men with terror links. Let's get you our next story. The Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. It marks the third edition of this campaign. It's going to be celebrated from the 9th of August to the 15th of August, celebrating India's 78th Independence Day, initiated in 2022 under the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. The campaign encourages citizens to hoist the national flag and upload selfies. So the Tiranga bike rally also will feature on the 13th of August. Here's a report.
A clarion call from the Prime Minister for hosting the tricolour to celebrate Independence Day is now into its third year.
अगस्त का दिन अब दूर नहीं है और अब तो 15 अगस्त के साथ एक और अभियान जुड़ गया है, हर घर तिरंगा अभियान। पिछले कुछ वर्षों से तो पूरे देश में हर घर तिरंगा अभियान के लिए सबका जोश हाई रहता है।
The Har Ghar Tiranga campaign, launched under the aegis of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav in 2022, has grown into a people's movement. In 2022, the national flag was hoisted at more than 23 crore homes, and 6 crore people uploaded their selfies with the flag on harghartiranga.com. In 2023, over 10 crore selfies were uploaded under the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign.
तिरंगा दौड़, तिरंगा मैराथन, तिरंगा से जुड़े हुए संगीत कार्यक्रम, तिरंगा से जुड़े हुए उत्सव, तिरंगा से जुड़ी हुई रैलीज, जिनमें पैदल दौड़ से लेकर के बाइक दौड़ तक के ऐसे अनेक कार्यक्रमों के साथ साथ में स्वतंत्रता के आंदोलन से जुड़ी हुई और तिरंगे के उद्भव से जुड़ी हुई, हमारे राष्ट्रीय ध्वज के उद्भव से जुड़ी हुई, उद्विकास से जुड़ी हुई अनेक सांस्कृतिक प्रदर्शनियां भी देश भर के अनेक स्थानों पर आयोजित की जाएंगी।
Several changes took place in our national flag since its first inception. A look at the historic milestones in the evolution of the national flag metamorphosis. A highlight of the campaign this year is a special Tiranga bike rally featuring members of parliament set to take place in Delhi on the 13th of August at 8 a.m. The rally will start from Bharat Mandapam, Pragati Maidan, New Delhi and end at Major Dhyan Chand Stadium, passing through India Gate. Anil Thomas, DD India, New Delhi.
Well, India's Aman Sehrawat was going to be in the ring today for a medal chase. Aman will be fighting it out for the bronze medal in the 57 kg freestyle wrestling category. He will face Darian Toy Cruz of Puerto Rico. The match is around 11 p.m. Indian Standard Time on Friday. Sehrawat, in fact, reigned supreme in his men's freestyle 57 kg round of 16 bout against his Macedonian opponent, and he won by a whopping margin 10-0. And he then defeated the Albanian wrestler 11-0, thus storming into the semi-finals. But there, though, he was brushed aside by Japan's Rai Hongji, who won quite convincingly 10-0. So it seems like either he blanks his opponents out or they blanked him. But let's hope that today he wins the bronze. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, you can get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. That app is available on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn from all of us here in Delhi. Thank you very much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.